Good morning and welcome to the beautiful and stunning Lancaster Castle. I want to start off by actually just thanking you for all the support you've given us, for those who've subscribed, and for those that haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel. We hope you do so, because that will help us spread the message of what we're trying to do, which is all about community. Today's topic is a really, in many ways, a really good one for me, because I've always had interest in people and psychology, and we have eminent psychologist Dr Sarah Baxter. She's going to talk us through a very powerful and emotive subject of men's mental health and suicide. So I hope you enjoy the first part of Let's Talk. Good morning and welcome to episode 5, take 3 of Let's Talk. Sound okay? Yeah, we're all right. She's in my eye line. Sarah's in my eye line and she's laughing.
Sorry. Are we starting again?
Yeah, start 5
Take
from the
4.
beginning. Okay. This is the final one, right, let's go.
Good morning and welcome to episode 5 of Let's Talk. We're privileged to be joined this morning by Dr Sarah Baxter, eminent psychologist and star of
22 Kids and Cats.
Counting. So I believe you're going to be doing a follow-up on that.
We are.
Yes.
So in the meantime, we're going to address the subject of suicide. In the UK, we don't talk much about it, and I think it's time we lid off. Hopefully Dr Sarah will help us with that.
I hope so.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome to Let's Talk.
Thanks.
Okay, so my first question is, were there experiences in your life path that influenced you going into the career that you've gone into?
Yes, absolutely. 2 main things, really. When I was 10, I had the privilege of meeting a clinical psychologist while on holiday, and she became a family friend. So I was very much welcomed into her world of work, and even as a young teenager, I was allowed to go on work experience with her in London, and I even got to work with, do some work with some children, which I don't think that'd be allowed these days. But it was an amazing experience. And so I just knew I wanted to help people, but didn't know quite in what capacity until I met her. So I was lucky from a really young age. I was a bit of a geek and knew what I wanted to do from, literally the age of like 10. And then, fortunately, I struggled with my own mental health as a teenager. And so again, I knew that the power of having therapy and being able to support other people to improve was absolutely something that I wanted to do. So I've been on both seats, and I've experienced many a time what it feels like to be in the therapy chair as a client. So I think that's been really important for me to have the insight from rocking in a corner and struggling, but then also being able to help people.
Yeah, because those experiences, both sides are important, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
You can have that understanding then.
Yeah, and I think, and I often say to people, I am honest with clients about struggling with my own mental health at times, because I say I absolutely know what it feels like to struggle and to have that voice in your head that tells you you're useless or you're not worthy or whatever, and that I haven't just read that in a book, and people really find that helpful, I think. Yeah.
Really appreciate your honesty. Many wouldn't have actually disclosed that you had your own struggles, so I think that's really important for people to understand that you have been in that position as well.
Yeah.
So you worked in the NHS, looking at your bio.
I have indeed.
And now you're doing private. How long have you been doing private to NHS, and what's the difference? So
I worked in the NHS, prior to my doctorate, I was in the NHS for a long time as well, doing various bits of work with people with learning disabilities and children. And then I worked as a clinical psychologist in the NHS until 2022. 2. But 6 years ago, I set up Aurora Psychology and did both. So I worked part-time in the NHS and did this part-time. Unfortunately, the NHS, sadly, I don't think is able to provide the mental health support that people need. I had a 2-year waiting list. It was crazy. And it then started having an impact on my own mental health and my own physical health. And I just thought, I can't do this anymore. And I never thought I'd leave. But I had to for my own well-being and for my children, and to be able to have a better work-life balance, which is so important. So I left properly grieved for leaving the NHS, and then so now do this full time, and we have staff, various staff members who. So we support people from the age of 4 upwards to older adults, and with almost anything, any difficulty.
So that's what you've got here with other practitioners? Yes.
So this room's used for children and families, and then I've got another clinic room where we see adults. I mainly just work with teenagers and adults.
Yeah.
You touched on it. You said that you had to go through you grieved leaving the NHS. So I was going to ask you, was it a difficult decision to make?
Oh, huge. Yeah, really. Yeah. I think it's really, it feels morally difficult to work privately as a psychologist, because I think everyone should have access to free mental health support. But unfortunately, I have to earn a living.
Yeah.
And so, leaving the NHS, where obviously it is free, but not being actually able to provide the therapy that people need. So it's really rigid. So because there's such a need for it, they have to limit how many sessions you can offer, what kind of work you're allowed to do. There's no preventative stuff. You catch people when they're in, when things have been really entrenched and been around for years, and then change takes so long, but then you're not allowed to provide years worth of therapy, which is often what people need by that point. So yes, it was hard to leave, but really liberating at the same time. And it was so freeing to be able to do the work like on 22 Kids and Counting, where actually I can go and do home visits.
Yeah.
And I don't have to justify that to anybody, which the NHS used to, when I first started, the NHS used to do some of that stuff. And I think it's reduced massively these days because there's just not enough time or money, or it's so sad. So hard decision, but probably in a way I wish I'd made it sooner.
Yeah.
What should somebody expect from counselling, as in the process or therapy? What's their how would you explain to them what the process will work?
Yeah. So I always, our service, we provide a free initial consultation. And so I always explain during that appointment what therapy is going to look like. And the reason we do a free initial consultation is because one of the most, you'll know this from being a counsellor, one of the most important things about therapy is the person and whether you get on with each other. So I always say that I've got loads of tools in my box, but they're all going to be completely useless if you don't like me, or if you don't think you can work with me. So I don't want any pressure. I don't want you to feel any pressure from coming to a first appointment feeling like you've got to continue. But during that appointment, what people can expect from therapy is hard work. So I always say, are you ready? Are you ready for this? On a lot of honesty. Personally, I find therapy works best when two main things happen. One, you really get to the bottom of why the difficulties have arisen in the first place, because they don't just appear. There's always causes, and I always describe it as well as a puzzle, and there are lots of different pieces. Some will be big, some will be small, but there's never one thing that causes a difficulty. There's usually hundreds. So we need to kind of find all those pieces of the puzzle. Some people will know what those puzzle pieces are. Other people, there'll be pieces of the puzzle that they didn't know they existed, and that's my job to help them figure that out.
So what's a presenting problem is often the crisis point that they find themselves in, but often there's a whole myriad of things behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we need to get to the bottom of all of that, but then also we need to then provide strategies to help people to think in a different way, to behave in a different way, or to be able to manage difficult thoughts and feelings. So I often, so I provide lots of different strategies as well, so that people can learn how to do that. And depending on the person, sometimes I need to do strategies first to allow people to be able to tolerate those difficult conversations as to the whys, why have we got here? But some people we can go straight into that kind of stuff. So this is the other thing about private work that I love, is that I get to be flexible and I really get to tailor it to the individual. And so each time I do it, it's different. And so when I first meet people, I often say, I can't tell you exactly what this is going to look like until I get to know you a bit more and I get to understand what's really going on. But the great thing about blow my own trumpet, about a clinical psychologist compared to other therapists, excuse me, is that we're trained in lots of different therapy methods. So again, I can really tailor it to the individual. And some people are interested about what kind of therapy we use. Others don't care. Just like get on with it.
I trained in person-centred, and I believe you use a lot of that.
Yeah, we use some. Yeah. To be honest, that's almost the backbone of therapy. You have to be able to do some of the stuff in person therapy, to be able to do the rest of it. So I use all sorts of different therapy methods, and some feel a bit strange. There's one called EMDR therapy, which people have often waggy fingers. But it's so complicated, but it's really powerful.
What does that stand for?
Eye movement desensitization reprocessing. EMDR.
Right, that sounds like a tongue twister to me.
Yes, yeah.
So what helps people feel safe to open up when they come to you? So I know when I walked in, this is the first time I've arrived in your building, and it just felt straight away, as soon as I walked in, it felt lovely, it felt safe. It's such a wonderful space. So is it fair to say that the environment that they're coming into it is really important as well as a person?
Yeah, absolutely. What was the question?
What makes people feel safe to open up?
Feel safe, yes. So absolutely, the space is important. And again, sadly, the NHS shouldn't. Not sure. This is a space where I just slag off the NHS.
Well, you're not.
But it's the reality of it. Yeah. Sadly, so in the NHS, I worked in a hospital, and the clinic room was a medical room. So it was just a bench, like a medical bench, and so again, being able to provide candles and pictures on the wall and lighting, it makes such a difference, I think. And sofas where people can
and feel comfortable.
Yeah, I have people in my other room, I've got blankets. People can take their shoes off and get snuggled in. So being able to feel relaxed as possible, and then the therapist, I think, needs to make people feel safe, as hopefully is going to come across. I'm a human being, and down to earth, hopefully. I swear I talk about my own stuff when it's appropriate to share that, I get it. And so I think that helps people feel safe, that don't put me on a pedestal. I'm just like everybody else. And even though I know everything that I know, I still struggle at times or lose my shit at the kids sometimes. I'm just a human being. Yeah. And I think that's I think people find that helpful. Yeah. So I'm sure there are other things people feel safe, but
well, for me, I feel it's actually the.
Do you see where I did that? It just takes the mic off me when it's my question. Twice.
Yeah, but it's really important. Is the person you set opposite?
Yeah.
I mean, as part of my training, I had to go for therapy.
Yeah.
And the therapist I had, she was terrible, to be quite honest. But you, from the minute we walked in, you're light-hearted and fun. But I appreciate you will have your serious side to it. So I will pass the microphone back.
No, it's your question.
But yeah, and
Is it my question?
I won't be for everybody, and that's okay. And that's why I say it, like when I first meet people, there's no pressure. Like, I'm not going to be offended if you say you're not for me, because it's so important. It's so important. So that's fine. There will be someone out there who you do connect with. So yeah, it has to be.
So it's about strong connection with the person, with the environment you're in. Trust to be able to, because for the most part, people, whether they realise it or not, are actually opening up and sharing their deepest experiences, really personal stuff that often can be upsetting to share.
And often stuff that's they've never told anybody else. And this, I find this job such a privilege for those reasons. It gives me absolute, like, so much pleasure, and to witness people's courage and bravery and being able to really open up about stuff. Sometimes for lots of people that takes a long time, because they've been hurt by other people and professionals, and so trust takes a long time to build up. But sorry, I'm waffling.
No, absolutely fine. Take it away from me for a change. But that brings us nicely on to the topic we want to actually nail. And there's men are notorious for not opening up. Mm-hmm. And when you look at the statistic for cause of death of men under 50, it's horrific.
Yep.
Suicide is the greatest cause of death under 50.
Yep.
And why is that?
Lots of reasons, as we said.
We've got time.
The pieces of the puzzle. I think, sadly, men still don't talk very much about anything that's to do with like your personal, and they don't compared to women, they don't talk to friends about that kind of, like, don't generally. No. So I think that is definitely one thing. And sadly, there's still a culture, I think, about it being seen as a weakness, to let people know that you're struggling with your mental health. Shame, kind of being seen as less than. And that all just feeds into, when someone is struggling with their mental health, that feeds into that depression voice that people have, is that depression can tell you that you're a burden and that you're a waste of space, or that you're weak. And so if men have a bit of that conception of themselves anyway, then if they're struggling, then that's just going to feed, it just makes depression worse. I think, sadly, again, services we're getting better, because obviously we've got things like Andy's Man Club now, which is amazing.
Big plug.
But until recently, the services haven't been tailored towards men. There aren't as many male therapists, which I know puts a lot of men off, because I think men will probably feel that they connect better, I think, with a male therapist. Not all, don't get me wrong. So that doesn't help either. But also society and misconceptions that we give children. We are getting better, but so the current generation, I think, are definitely getting better at we're teaching kids to talk about our emotions, to name them and stuff. But every generation above that, we weren't taught. We weren't, were you? We weren't taught how to say I'm feeling anxious, or let alone to learn how to deal with that.
Well, it was the opposite. It's big boys don't cry.
Yeah.
And that's highly damaging.
Yeah, and get on with it.
Yeah, brush yourself down.
Yeah, and I think that's a British thing as well, having a stiff upper lip and just get on with it. So I think people at times aren't even aware. I think, sadly, men probably at times aren't even aware that their mental health is dropping until it's got really bad. and then they're willing to admit that they are struggling and getting help. So I think those are just a few. But there's tons of reasons. I think we've got a lot of work to do at encouraging men to open up more about their mental health.
Is it fair to say then that men might not see it, think it applies to them? They might not think that it's that what they're feeling is just normal, and that it doesn't apply to them, and don't actually realise how low they actually really are.
No, absolutely. I think, like I say, until it gets really bad, they might just think they're having a shit day, or put it down to stress. I hear that all the time. Oh, it's just work's stressful. Actually, the other thing I've really started to notice is we've been doing lots of talking about women and women working and having equal rights. But what we're not talking about is the impact that has on men, because I think men are confused as into what their identity is. Are they supposed to? Before it was quite simple that you're a breadwinner. You go out, you go at work. Now men are confused as to, well, am I supposed to be doing that as well as helping? There's a pressure to be helping at home, with kids and cleaning and all of that kind of stuff. So I think, let alone finding their place of doing their own hobbies. And I think men are confused, and we need to talk more about that. And there's expectations. There's so many expectations on men, I think, and each man needs to figure out what works for them and their family. But again, these conversations aren't had, I don't think, and men might not even be aware that that's a pressure that they're having to do all the different things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. And I was going to ask you as well. So when a man or someone does decide to talk to somebody and open up, we often in society, I think, I don't know what you think, but when we ask people if they're okay, we really want to hear that they're good. Yeah. We love it when people say, oh yeah, I'm good. And it's like, oh yeah, that's great. Yeah. What have you been up to? But actually, if somebody actually says, no, I'm actually really not good, you can see a change in that person. It's like, oh gosh, I don't really want,
what do I say?
Oh, I don't really need this. I don't really want to know this because I've got my own stuff going on.
Yeah.
And I definitely see that. But is that something you would agree with?
Yeah, I think so. In fact, I think, again, societally, we're not very good at truly asking how people are. I often give, here's a bit of a tip, I often give people, encourage people to ask the question, how are you? Yeah. Not, are you okay? Or or like when it's Christmas or holidays and stuff, people always say, did you have a good holiday? Don't they? Yeah. And the response people will give to that is, yeah, it was great. Have you had a nice holiday? Doesn't allow people to open to say, actually, no, it was really shit. Yeah. And I think, again, when we're having interactions with humans, is to just ask properly, how are you? And not to be, like you say, not to be then afraid of that answer, because it might not be that you need, someone doesn't need to necessarily to talk a lot about it, just to be able to go, yeah, no, I'm not, I'm having a really shit day. Yeah.
And if someone does open up to somebody and have a conversation where they put the trust in that person to share how they're feeling, it's for them to not minimise that as well, isn't it? Because so many people do that. They minimise that person. Yeah. Without intent, but they can do it, can't they, by what the words they choose to use. Yeah.
But also there's a lot of power in, if you say oh, I'm having a really bad day, and you don't even need to go into detail, and somebody else goes, yeah, I'm having a really bad day as well. Yeah. Automatically that can be really helpful to go, okay, it just normalises that, not everyone is walking around. Actually, this is a point. People I see in therapy all the time, we've got a really strong fear of what other people are thinking, and we never know what people are thinking. But when you walk around outside, you think everyone's just having a great life, and they're not. No one is really. Life is full of ups and downs, but we perceive everybody else to be doing well, and we're the ones struggling.
Well, I get really upset when, when you're walking down the street or you're out and about in your car, and say if somebody walks in I've witnessed people walking in someone's way and then people getting really cross with them and shouting something to them, or like being in the car and then pipping at somebody, and you think you don't know
you don't know
what
what's
that
going
person's
on.
experiencing in that car, or why that person's in the world of their own, who's you're interpreting them as being rude, but actually what are they going through? And you could have actually tipped them right over the edge by that pip of the horn or that comment. So it's about us being more mindful, isn't it?
Hugely,
those around us, and
and watching out for the I think we'll talk about this more, so maybe I won't jump in, but the things to watch out for is some of those, like those littler things, small things.
A lot of people will come to you and other practitioners, and as I mentioned before, what often is the presenting problem. There's often a lot more behind. I mean, what would you say would be the sort of, is there a percentage that most is as a result of long term, or some that are triggers, immediate triggers, in the moment triggers?
So there will always be triggers of some description. So I often refer to a metaphor called the stress bucket metaphor. Have you heard of this one? Yeah. And I think it really normalises human struggles. So the stress bucket is, imagine we've all got a bucket of stress, and the water's the stress levels. What will be in everyone's bucket will be different things, but there will be the key for an adult. There'll be usually work and children and, well, not always obviously, but paying bills, those kind of things. So those are in the bucket. And then people will have childhood stuff, or the way they think about themselves, and those are stresses in there. And then often when people come to therapy, they've reached, the stress bucket has reached the top, the water's reached the top of the bucket, and it might just be, like you said, it might just be like a pip of the horn. It might be one, it will be a little thing that then tips the bucket to cause it to overflow. It might, but that pip of the horn or whatever, or that will not have been the thing that's actually contributing to how you're feeling, but it's caused people to be then aware that they've tipped. So there's often lots of different contributing factors that we need to understand better. So yes, like you say, some people might come because they've had an accident, but actually it's all the other stuff that we need to figure out. Do you want me to talk about like what some kind of if you could, that'd be helpful. So a lot of people I see come initially because they are struggling with like anxiety or depression, but anxiety and depression and anger and loss, grief, all those kind of things, it's how we interpret it that's often really important. So if we blame ourselves for something, or we think if we think something's our fault, or we're not a good enough person, or we've not been taught, like I said earlier, about how to manage certain negative thoughts and feelings, that those will all be contributing to the difficulties of anxiety and depression. I'm realising I'm probably waffling and not.
No, making perfect sense.
It's important that we and the viewers will get an understanding. Because I think a lot of people walk around, see an awful lot on social media, on TV, magazines, whatever, that life is great, and when they're struggling, they don't see, they don't understand it, and they're seeking this that everybody else has. And as you say, it's a build up, and your bucket analogy is a great one.
And it can be a lonely place, can't it? It's a lonely place to feel like that.
And we can often think that we're the only ones having those thoughts. In fact, I've had some men recently, and unfortunately also some young ladies who, there's a form of OCD which make you think that you're a paedophile, and you can be, like, from doing something or having a sensation when you're doing something, or so I've had people who are doctors, teachers, males who, because we perceive obviously paedophiles to be these difficult people, that people are then terrified of becoming one, and your brain can then obsess over certain thoughts and make you think that you are a paedophile even though you're not. But because these things aren't taught, there's so much of mental health that obviously goes on inside our brains. People aren't checking out. I go, oh, have you ever had that thought? And actually, maybe not that example, but so much. But if you ask, people often have thought that they don't like something about themselves, or they think they're a failure, or they think they're stupid, but we're not checking out. We're not having those conversations, and we need to be.
Yeah, and it's the worry, isn't it? It's the worry of the judgment.
Yeah.
If I have this conversation and if no one else has experienced this, what are they actually going to think of me then?
Yeah.
And it is about having that.
Yeah. We have. So, you know that phrase, I don't care what people think. Bullshit.
Yeah.
Everyone cares, and there's a biological reason why everyone cares. Here's a bit of a fun fact for you. So, we need to care what people think about us on some level or another, and so that's why we all have a fear of judgment, because when we were cave people, and even now to a certain degree, we're humans, we rely on other people to survive. So we all know, we know stories of like the witches, and this goes on through society has been going through millennia, that if you're not accepted by other human beings, you're ostracized, you die. You can't, we can only survive with others around us. So therefore, that's just logic, like makes sense, doesn't it? That you then have to be, you want to be liked. It's inbuilt in us. It's a survival strategy. So what we have to do though is learn not to then become obsessive about that, because that's what often people do, is that fear of judgment becomes like really powerful to the point where they won't leave the house, or won't get won't go to the gym. Oh, that's a prime example. People who won't go to the gym because they're worried about what people will think about how they look, or how they're performing if they're doing a class or something and can't keep up with it or whatever. But actually,
that's why I don't go to the gym.
No, but really, no one know. You don't. I'm forever saying, you don't know what's going on in somebody else's mind, and if someone looks at you, they might actually be thinking, oh, you look lovely today, rather than like what we always do, the worst case scenario, or focus on the negatives. And again, that is a survival strategy. That is to try and prepare us, to keep us safe. But our brains go too far with it often and stop us from doing things that might be helpful.
I go swimming at 6 a.m. in the morning so no one sees me in my costume.
No. Right, we can work on that.
No, definitely.
And you're going to work on my negativity
Yes,
as well, are you?
yes.
So
But
you've got yourself 2 clients here, haven't you?
So basically we're saying that, you know, anyone can struggle with their mental health.
Yeah. Oh,
anybody.
Absolutely.
Doesn't matter who they are, what job they do.
No.
Anybody.
Yeah.
Can.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think men are just as sorry, I'm getting distracted. Men can struggle just as women do. We don't see it as much because women are better at talking to friends and not being afraid to cry. Whereas, like you said earlier, I think there is still a bit of a societal stereotype of it's not, men shouldn't cry, which is, I always say to people, we need to cry. It's a biological need. Like, it's there for a reason. We've evolved so much as human beings. If we didn't need it, we wouldn't do it. We wouldn't be able to do it. So, trying to change people's narrative over things like...
Yeah, because it is often seen as a negative, isn't it, if you cry?
Yeah. But I used to get told I was too sensitive.
Yeah.
And that is bullshit.
Like, it's horrible.
You can't be too...
And then you're made to feel bad for crying, aren't you?
Yeah. And no, it's just, some people are more in touch with their emotions than others, or not enough.
Yeah.
And I think people often, so I see a lot of people, and I should have probably said this earlier, with men in particular, who bottle up. And that then, so there's a famous book in our world, it's a bit like one of our Bibles, called The Body Keeps the Score. And it's about how, when you bottle up negative emotions, what that can do to you physically. And so often people can come to me, like we were saying earlier, they can come to me with a trigger, but then what we realise is they're storing a lot of negative emotions, and that's coming out in anger and anxiety. So anxiety often is stuff that's been bottled up, but also it can come out physically. So this is what I used to specialise in, working with physical health problems and mental health. The two are so interlinked, that you can get, I mean, most people have heard of stress headaches, but you can get, so IBS, chronic pain, eczema, so much stuff can be related to a stress response.
It's amazing, isn't it, what stress can actually do to your body?
Yeah, absolutely. And let alone then stored up like really like powerful negative emotions.
Yeah.
So again, we need to be encouraging men in particular, but anybody, to be talking about how they're really feeling and not bottling it up, because actually I think the world would then, well, particularly the UK, would be a healthier place. And this is what used to frustrate me about the NHS, is this prevention stuff, this stuff early on isn't talked about. So yeah, it's so frustrating.
I know I'm really conscious of that, because I've got an 18-year-old son. So from being really, really young, I've encouraged him to use his voice to talk. Yeah. And he literally shares everything with me,
which is amazing.
He talks all the time, and I'm just so grateful to that he uses his voice. It's so important, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
To keep that.
Yeah, and like I say, I think we are getting better at teaching our children to do that. But sadly, I often say we're a messed up generation, because we're trying to teach children to do that when we weren't taught how to do it ourselves. Yeah. So again, I think that's really hard for men as well, is that there's an expectation now that we should be doing that stuff with children, which is great, but they don't know how to do it.
Yeah, they weren't taught it.
Yeah, they weren't. Like the amount of people in my other clinic room, I've got a cushion with the it's an emotion wheel. Have you seen? Do you have one?
Yeah, no.
Because a lot of people don't even know how to name an emotion or what that feels like in their bodies. So we have to do some work. Like sometimes we have to do some basic work just on that kind of stuff. Like, what does your body feel like when you're feeling anxious or whatever, and giving it a name.
We're fighting over the mic.
You really are fighting over the mic. I think Paul wanted to say something.
I was just gonna go to my question next, because I'm gonna take, because he did this when we did the neuro drop-in talk, so I'm not gonna let him do it this time. Yeah. Is it fair to say though that there's still a bit of a mindset with men saying that I'll be fine,
Oh, hugely.
Yeah. I'll be okay, and minimising how they're feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll put it down, like I said earlier, to stress, or it's just having a bad day. But
I'm hoping maybe they'll go away.
Yes.
What they're feeling is actually going to go away. So they maybe know it, but they're telling themselves, I'll be okay, I'll be fine, I'll get through it, I don't need help. Yeah,
and a lot of the, again, something I spend a lot of time talking to people about is that we can't get rid of negative thoughts and feelings. We can't, and therapy isn't about that. And I think a lot of, again, the NHS, a lot of the therapy methods that one particular therapy method can do a lot of focusing on that, of trying to change your thoughts and feelings. And actually it's not about that, it's about how to manage them and not be controlled by them. For instance, we all have intrusive thoughts, we all have random thoughts in our head that we're like, okay, but some people get more upset, like can become more obsessive about them
and feel bad about it.
But so I think, like you say, men or all of us can sometimes be thinking, this will just go away. But actually, the more you try and tell some emotions or thoughts to go away and trying to get rid of them, the more they kind of smack you in the face and they get bigger and bigger and bigger. Actually, the more you in a tug of war with them. So a lot of the work I do is helping people to kind of to almost accept that they're there, because actually it's a bit of a paradox. The more you kind of notice the negative thoughts and feelings, accept them and let them be there without fighting against them, they actually then start reducing on their own. Don't get me wrong, there's lots of strategies that I need to teach people sometimes to be able to do that. But yeah, so being able to not just keep pushing it away is really important. And yeah, and actually if anything from this, I hope people start to hear that. They hear that. Don't minimize it. Don't keep pushing it away. Just listen to what your body and your brain is trying to tell you. And
validate it.
Validate it. Normalize it as well. You're not going to be the only person who's ever felt like that or had those thoughts.
It's not all about you.
And share them with other people, because that normalizing is so powerful. Like I said earlier, to be able to hear someone else say, actually I didn't have a great holiday, and other people will go, oh yeah, no, mine wasn't like a Christmas, like, no, I didn't have a nice Christmas, it was rubbish, it was stressful.
May I?
Yes, you can.
So by normalising it, actually opens the door for other people to share, and that's actually quite liberating, isn't it? That you can actually go, okay, so my holiday wasn't so good, so I can actually say that too.
Absolutely.
As opposed to feeling a failure or such.
Yeah.
But you touched on earlier about the effect of mental health and physical. I've always been a strong believer in that holistic approach, that if we are struggling in physical pain, that it has a detrimental effect to us emotionally, and vice versa. And they are intrinsically linked.
Yes.
We cannot avoid it whatsoever.
No.
I hope later on we can maybe come across some little tactics or strategies that people can come across.
Do you think that it can start early on in age?
Yes. So again, when I look at the whys and the pieces of the puzzle, it often goes back to childhood. And I know that's a bit of a cliche, and not everyone's willing to look at that, and so I don't push people. But yes, so
like looking at adverse childhood experiences, things like that.
But so I think when we think about adverse childhood experiences, we often think of the big stuff, like the really obvious stuff. So we call those like big T traumas, like if you've had a like really you've lost a parent's died, or you've been sexually assaulted, or the really horrific stuff. But what we often don't notice is what we call small T traumas, and this is the stuff that might be happening all day, every day, and that you grow up just thinking that's normal, and it's only when you reach adulthood you go, hang on, that wasn't very helpful. So I'm thinking, like, if you get criticised by a parent, or you don't feel good enough, or there's a lot of pressure on you to achieve, or but then also like that you don't have enough food, or you can't put the heating on and so you're freezing, and you grow up as a child because you don't have you're not outward thinking, you don't realise that's
it's your normal, isn't it?
Yeah,
it becomes your normal.
Yeah, so you don't realise how that's impacting you until much later on, where you go, okay, that was tricky. So it's that stuff, it's that really implicit, less like really unobvious stuff that often kind of builds up. So I talk about it being like a snowball. You get one piece of snow and it starts connecting to other bits of snow, and you create a snowball that you didn't even necessarily realise was there until then the bucket overfills, and so it's pulling that stuff apart. Like where did your sense of self come from? Like what were you taught as a child? And again, I often hear people saying, I had a great childhood, because they're thinking of the big T traumas. But actually, yes, you did. Okay, so this is the other thing. This is why our brains are so confusing and so powerful, is that you can have two simultaneously, you can have two opposing thoughts and feelings about the same thing. So yes, you can have an amazing childhood and your parents could be wonderful, but yet they may still have done things that were not very helpful, and that doesn't make them bad parents. but it's about understanding the impact that's had on you and your self-esteem and your confidence and your identity. And it's that stuff that I often like help pull apart with people, like I say, that they didn't even realise was there. So yeah, men's expectations of themselves, where did they, like, were you brought up being told not to cry, come on, just get on with it? And that often starts from when you were tiny. And I, like, one question I often ask, like, when you fell over as a child, what happened? What response were you given? And again, these days we're much better at like scooping kids up, and although I do still sadly see it a bit telling them to come on, don't cry. I hate that phrase. I hate that phrase. Again, people listening, please don't tell your children not to cry.
So I know I mentioned to you earlier, but I work in a school as pastoral lead, so I work with children, early intervention. But when I try and get support for children and the parents I work with, it's so difficult. So the support out there, you fill referral forms in, you get them the support, but it only lasts for a few weeks. So by the time that child or that adult can build a relationship with a practitioner, then the work's ended. And straight away it's like a pressure on the outside agency that comes in. Straight away it's like, I can only do that for this many weeks. Like if you can feel the pressure. And actually to get support for the parents that I work with is even worse, because there is just nothing. And they have to be, like you said earlier, in crisis. Years ago I worked with a girl, and self-harm didn't meet threshold. I got told I had to, you'll know which service I'm meaning, but I got told she had to be in crisis. You know, so she worked with me, and she'll always say, you know, it's probably, you know, she'll always say, oh, Mrs. Rugby, say, and I always think, gosh, that sounds a bit extreme, but she always says that, and she's this was years ago, and she's flying now at high school, but she still used those strategies and techniques that she did when she was at primary. But it's so difficult, isn't it? Because a lot of the parents and families I work with, the parents and children I work with, they can't afford private, and that must be so difficult. Because, like you say, you have to earn a living, don't you? And it's so difficult, isn't it, when they can't get the support, but then the only other way is private, and if they haven't got the money to do that.
We do, we do try and help people where we can. So we do try and like reduce weight, and I do some pro bono work as well to help, like for my own like moral compass to alleviate some of that. I do feel guilty.
I know, I can imagine.
Like massively guilty, and because
and it's not for you to feel guilty, is it? It's like the system's messed up that we're living in.
And I think as well, with this is going down another tangent, isn't it? But I get that I'm especially clinical psychologists, because we're the top tier of mental health. We're expensive, but people don't understand what we do, and I'm going to blow my own trumpet. I do save people's lives every day, and personally, I don't think you can put a price on that, but I do appreciate that it's expensive, and I wish I could there was more I could do to help more people.
I say that all the time in my job. I wish I could do. I wish I could do more.
But I'm only but we're only humans ourselves. I have a family, a kid, house to sort out. I've got my own mental health to look after, and so there isn't enough time in the day to do.
And when I often have to have those conversations with parents who want to access support for the children, I'm like, it won't meet. I find it really hard to say, but it won't
meet what you need.
Threshold. And that's absolutely devastating to that family, because it doesn't. Because the threshold is so.
Talking of which, I actually, and this is fitting for what we're talking about. I actually attended last year a tribunal for a male who'd taken his own life. It was the most horrendous thing I think I've ever done, and sadly, the conversation was going down the route of how could we have prevented this, which is obviously a great question. And the parents were, he was a young male in his late 30s, 2 young kids. They were saying why to the GPs that were there also at the tribunal, why didn't this happen? Why didn't that happen? And when I took the stand, I said, sadly, he wouldn't have met, because he was being a male, bottling it all up, not letting people really know how he felt. He wouldn't have met criteria for community mental health teams. They wouldn't have paid any attention to him, and that is tragic.
And it's heartbreaking for the family to hear that, isn't it?
Yeah, but like you say, the services don't get in. They're too stretched to get in there quick enough. And yeah, it is heartbreaking that so many people lose their lives. Like you said in your the blurb for this, suicide is preventable 100%. Like, but when you're depressed, your mind tells you, this is part of the depression, your mind tells you that you're worthless, that no one loves you, that and that's you're not thinking straight. Again, devastatingly, I was with someone recently, who attended a funeral for someone who'd taken their own life, and the room was packed, and we were like, this is so tragic. Oh, I'm giving myself goosebumps. It's like so tragic to think that people who with depression don't realise how loved they are until they're not here anymore, and then they can't see it anyway.